we get hired as you guys are the Supermans, help us.
Yeah.
And then suddenly they see you're not Superman.
Yeah.
You're not Superman. We make
Exactly.
mistakes. What we do, if you don't
Fair
have a
enough.
click with the people, certainly in the business we do,
It's not
you're in
gonna...
trouble. We needed to go to the bank and say we need 1 billion euros from you guys. I know how it feels is to have some money on your bank account and give it to somebody and hope they don't screw it up.
Yeah.
That's not going into that rush, so we do not have it under control.
I love that.
Hi guys, Glenn from Alberts here. Week 3 of the YouTube podcast Beyond the Blend, a weekly podcast with real talk on tech startups. Welcome! Where LinkedIn seems like a never-ending fairy tale wedding of good news, we hope to make a change by creating this YouTube podcast series with real talk, where we open the doors of our own startup and really show you everything behind the scene, how things are working, and also invite inspiring guests who bring their own story with their own struggles and their own adventures, where they open up in order to give you a true insight how tech startups are going by. If you're joining in from the audio, this is a YouTube podcast, so we have cool materials behind the scenes and cool videos, so really take a look at the YouTube channel. You can find us at Albert's Living, or you type in Beyond the Blend. Both will hit. As always, I'm jumping in with a quick intro here. Today I am at the TUCO conference in UK. TUCO is the organization for catering at educational centers here in Great Britain. That means that universities and colleges are visiting us. We are here today with two partners. On the one hand, we have SV365, experts in anything which is special vending, so the most special machines. And on the other hand, we have Change Please, social entrepreneurship company that is focusing on employing homeless people and changing their lives while serving delicious coffee. We have a partnership all together, and today we are presenting the Alberts One here at the TUCO conference in Great Britain. Today we have our first external guest. His name is Dirix. It was a fantastic conversation with Tim. I really enjoyed it myself. Tim is CEO of Voxdale. He will be telling us about billion-dollar deals he was making with banks on a product which actually did not exist yet. At the same time, he will open up on how it is to run Voxdale as a CEO, his vision on hardware and hardware startups, as well as his personal life. He really surprised me at the end. The quote that is already stuck in my mind from him is, actually, we don't have it under control. So definitely watch until the end because to discover what that was all about. Before we go to Tim, I'm just here for 5 minutes updates on Alberts. I hope you like that as well. We'll be doing this every week to give you an idea how things are going. Up first, Steven, our international sales. He had a very, very busy week. Steven has been in the UK to present together with SV365 and Change Please in our partnership a pod. What is a pod? Not a podcast. A pod is a family of automated solutions that SV365 and Change Please have been gathering. And this solution becomes an island of food and drinks. And Alberts is part of that island with our smoothies, our soups, and our shakes. So we're thrilled to be here. First pictures are out on the web, so we can pop it in here on top. You can find in the description some extra videos of the pod as well. So Steven had a busy week. Thank you very much, Steven, for rushing in here. And thank you very much, the guys from SV365 and Change Please. Let's go and conquer Britain. As I said, today we are at Keele University. This is close to Manchester, somewhere in between Manchester and Northampton in the UK. Very happy to be here. I flew in this night, started my travels at midnight, and then flew in. My return flight is actually cancelled, so I don't know how I'm going back. Guess I'll have to stay here. Another important update is from the production side. It's not directly the most ideal time ever to start producing. The supply market is really shaken up, both financially and availability wise. That means that either we cannot get a component or either we pay way too much. The Alberts One contains 348 unique components, so it means that there's a lot of sourcing going on the market. But at the same time, we have a good partner, Dieryckx. We're setting up production in Belgium, so we have a local production. We're setting up first machines now in the production and then continue in line. News from the team as well. We have a new team member, Johan. Johan, a big welcome to Alberts. Johan will be our field technician. He has a lot of experience already in the vending world, so it's lovely to onboard more and more people with a lot of experience. So Johan, welcome. Have a good time. He will make sure that machines are running smooth and ever smoother. Over to Tim and the podcast. Dieryckx, the CEO of Voxdale. Thank you very much all for watching. See you next week. Love you. Bye-bye.
Okay, good. Welcome back, everybody. It's episode 3, but the first time we have a guest. And Tim, as I said before, the first guest is most important.
Thank you very much.
So you're the
big
first
honor.
guest. Tim, we know each other for a while. I think now 2 years.
Yeah,
is that
more or
correct?
less. Yep.
I think I introduced you correctly by saying you're CEO and shareholder of Voxdale.
Yes, indeed.
Good. In very short already, Voxdale is the partner we have been working with from day one, being Alberts.
Yep.
And in one word, you could say your engineering innovation agency. Is that how I position it, or how do you position it?
Well, we position it actually, we want to partner with innovators like yourself to build fantastic hardware and IoT that actually makes an impact, a positive impact to the world. That's basically what we want to do as a company, that the passion of all the people in this team. We are, you could describe us a little bit as an intermediate between engineers and creatives.
Yeah.
And we also have more or less the team that fits those skills.
Definitely.
And we basically want to help entrepreneurs and pioneers to invent stuff.
Yes, that's very nice.
Yeah, it's really that a bit. And the hands-on stuff, it's really what differentiates Voxdale probably a little bit from others.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Like
And the
lab,
partnership,
let's say,
and the partnership is extremely important for us. We really want to partner with people, with companies, and go through that process and actually build something.
Yes.
Yeah, whether we own the company or not doesn't really matter for us. Just getting that product and having impact in the world. That's basically what we want to do as a company.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And and of course I'm gonna flatter you a little bit. But I think that's what you do good. And I think also the differentiator you said is, for us it was very much that the hands-on aspect. Because today we're here. I mean, basically we're almost always here, being Alberts. We have shared offices. I mean, they belong to you.
Yes.
We're
indeed.
basically the bug in
indeed.
the company.
Indeed.
But so we spent with your whole team. We almost spent every day together. We are in the same buildings all the time, and I think the lab is a big differentiator. Right? You have such a big lab.
Yeah.
You almost literally have your own fab lab, your fabrication lab.
Yeah.
And I think with people working there, that is such a big difference with many other agencies or any companies. Often it is, only the design work, but here you can really go from ID towards prototype. I think that's almost your slogan, almost. No?
Yes, indeed.
To production, even.
It is. Indeed, I think it's something we also. You guys were actually inspiration in that perspective. Right? It's still here. We've seen the big added value of that. We also collaborate on other aspects. We think along. You give us inspiration. We give you inspiration.
Yeah, 100.
So we see also other startups are taking their location here. We have the same setup in Berlin.
Yeah, that's cool. Actually. I was never there. I really.
Yeah, we have the mirror setup in Berlin, which actually gives a huge added value, and that's where we also want to invest further in. And I think one of the things that drives me in particular. On hardware, because hardware is hard.
That's what they say.
Why are not working on software? I see all these guys are working with insurance companies and banks on the software side. And we're doing hardware because I truly believe that hardware is needed. Very good hardware is needed to have a certain impact.
Yes.
And I also think that there's still a lot of ways to improve how we build hardware.
100%.
Yeah.
I totally align with that as well. Like, it's what Elon Musk says, if nobody builds stuff, there is no stuff.
Voila.
So, like, if nobody is taking the job of building it or developing it, it won't be there. And in the end, they say software is eating the world. We being Alberts, we always add, okay, but the world is not eating software yet.
No, true.
We still need to eat, so you still need products or machinery that in the end will do that.
Yeah. Without hardware, you have no software to run on.
Exactly.
I mean, there's a big compatibility there.
Yeah. And we were at a conference last week, and I remember you also spoke about how more and more of these software, because you actually have a helicopter view. You have a helicopter, we have our laser-focused view on the market we have, but you have a helicopter view.
Yeah, indeed.
And you also spoke a little bit about how more software startups tune to models where they have a hardware component.
Yes.
Could you maybe work on that? Or
I think generally what we see is a big evolution, of course, to IoT. It's not groundbreaking what I'm saying here, but we see a big evolution towards all connected devices. I guess only in medical device world we still see pure hardware. Or pure mechanical stuff, non-connected. The other ones are connected. I think Alberts is a fantastic example of that. You could have built just a machine, but you build a connected machine.
Exactly.
And there's a reason for that, because you can basically build a different business model on top of that. You have a data business model, you have a supply chain business model, operations are much easier.
Exactly.
What we see is the different setup where we see software people looking at software models, and they say, well, it's so easy to copy. If I'm going to build a software, for example, sort of a platform, and then they see it's so easy to copy. Nobody uses this. If you want, actually, as a user, you have like 15 apps you can download for the exact same thing, exactly the same thing. So where is your differentiator? And more of these software companies are going to look into hardware, because one way or another, hardware can help your scalability.
But that's a paradox, huh?
It's a paradox.
If now a software investor is listening, he's like,
indeed,
this is crazy.
Indeed.
But I think it's right because you can. They call it land grab. Like in our case with the solutions we have, like I actually didn't expect it myself, to be honest. The idea was 7 years ago, and today still it's rather unique. Like there are some competitors coming up, and I hear some people call me and say, "Hey, I'm from India. We are maybe building something alike." Like, yeah, maybe it's probably exactly the same. So it's coming, but indeed it takes time, and that's the big deal. It takes a big time to get there, firstly, and then secondly to get there at scale. Because you could do the design, but then the production. And then in the end, if your devices, in our case, are already installed somewhere, it's not that easy to swap and have the other one. You know, you can go for long-term contracts. You can go for...
You have a lock-in,
yeah, indeed. A lock-in sounds negative, but in a business aspects, you just make sure that you have some kind of freedom to develop the business itself.
Yeah.
And yeah, I really like that aspect where you said, I see more and more of the companies actually doing that.
Yeah.
And of course, today, like you say, there's almost no hardware anymore without a software add-on to that. Totally logic.
Yeah, I think you say it's not always. I think many growing software companies also work on the lock-in. Just look at your CRM. The reason why you just don't change CRM because there's a truckload of information you need to put from one to the other. That's your lock-in. Exactly. If you don't have that lock-in, you can do it with hardware. Yeah. I think every single company is trying to get that. It's a 5 forces of Porter. It's a quite simple setup.
Yeah, exactly.
You try to have a competitive edge. Yeah?
And actually, I didn't think about that last night when I was thinking about it. But how do you do that as Voxdale? Because one thing I admire being Voxdale, and I really mean admire, is that often it's services, right? It's a service model. Because I can imagine there is a big pressure on you. I'm freewheeling a little bit, but I mean. Yeah, like every month, of course, you have clients who have long-term projects. Of course, like we are here now for more than 5 or 6 years. So of course, but in the end, it comes down to every time getting new projects in, getting new projects out. How do you feel about that hustle, and how do you try to somehow get a more sustainable, let's say, relationship with a client or a type of sector? How do you go along?
I think, and I think it came naturally for Voxdale. I really want to give all credits to Koen on that one. I think he did it quite naturally, and we have the core business, which is basically providing services. Yeah. But Koen already from the very early days, and I think you guys are an example of that, but other companies also did already incubation. We've basically been doing sort of an incubation. It was not formally an incubator.
No, indeed.
But
was natural.
It was a natural incubator. Just asking for help, spreading network, showing investors. I think.
Yeah, sharing offices. Then, like literally the space. Yeah.
So
okay.
From there on, I think that's probably one where we've been doing that. We're doing exactly the same setup in Berlin. We also have launched a hardware accelerator there. And that's probably a natural one where you're going to be much more longer in the lifespan of the different projects. And on the other hand, we're also building our own technologies. But on our core business, I agree, it is a challenge. I think
it must be tough. Like really, the pressure is on all the time on the team also, right?
Yeah. Indeed. And also when you speak with they actually come to us for top expertise. And the issue is they always come with top expertise in something that doesn't exist. If it would exist, they wouldn't come to us. Yes. And that's always the challenge for us. We need to. We have fantastic, the guys,
fantastic team. I mean,
and they are probably the best in estimating. Okay, how challenging will this be? Will we be able to do it? What's the technology leap we need to take here? Where do we see already the risks? We need to look like a little bit in a glass bowl, and our clients also expect us to do that. But the issue is we don't know,
of course,
and that's always the issue. So we, and I think it may be a little bit of vulnerability on our side. It weighs on our team.
Of course,
I think we get hired as you guys are the Supermans, help us, and then suddenly they see you're not Superman. You're not Superman. We make mistakes.
Exactly, because I I try to imagine like if we present our machine or the solution, let's say, of course we're gonna say, it's fantastic and it's gonna do that and that and that. But here you do that in the end actually with people or a team. And so after then the process of, okay, yeah, we're gonna do it, then comes, there you go,
Yeah.
So I can really, of course, the expertise and of course the reputation starts helping over time. So definitely. But
I
yeah,
agree.
anyways, I just had a brain
It's a
fart
very
there.
interesting question. It's a question we probably it's probably a struggle for service company always. But what we really want to do is also tell to people where we're going to make mistakes. In innovation, you
Yes.
make mistakes.
Yeah, 100%.
Otherwise, if you don't make mistakes, you don't challenge yourself enough. You're probably you're
It's too easy.
too
yeah.
careful, and you don't want to be too careful when you build fantastic products.
Yeah. No. Okay, good. Brain fart. We mentioned Koen, and now I realize we didn't say Koen. What is Koen? So
Who is Koen?
Who is Koen? So in short, we entered here, I don't know exactly, but I think 6.5 years ago. It was actually the moment when Voxdale was moving from their first office in the city of Antwerp, moving towards here in the suburbs of Antwerp, let's say. And I remember when we entered as a client, they were actually literally moving. So everything was full of boxes and people were running around, and we were literally sitting on the kitchen table, so in the cafeteria. And Koen was clearly he was so CEO and founder of Voxdale, and then at that point sole shareholder. And I remember that he literally was so like, it was such a busy day, and then he had us sitting there like. Two baby face guys like, hello, we want to build a smoothie machine, was back then the thing. And he looked at us and he thought, I'm going for it. And he looked and he said, you want to drink a beer? And we were like, oh. Yeah.
That's Koen style. Want to drink a beer?
We were like, okay, we didn't expect this. Let's go for it. But at least, so it created a direct open bond together from minute one. But then, okay, so Koen then still was leading the company for I think 3-4 years, and then you came. Could you share some basically how did that happen? Because I think that's really interesting to know, how did that move happen? Because you came.
One of the critical aspects is the people, and I think one way or another we need to fall in love with our clients. And I think at that moment probably Koen saw two guys with an enormous amount of potential. No matter what the idea is, it's about the people, and that's also what we do. If you don't have a click with the people, certainly in the business we do,
it's not
you're in trouble.
Exactly.
You're in trouble.
And that's why that incubator idea was such a good idea. Because then you are spending time together. So you start hating certain aspects about each other, but also loving certain aspects.
For sure. That's how.
And I mean, that's how our office ended up here. We literally called Koen at the notary, and we said, okay, Koen, we actually don't have an office. Like, we're founding the company. We're at the notary, and like, we don't have an address. Can we not just do it with you? And he's like, yeah, sure. And we're still here. So it's 6.5 years later.
That's a great story.
But exactly what you say is right. Like, once you get to know the people more, it really starts... you start tolerating each other, you start loving each other, and then, okay, things evolve.
And you need that to actually tell the difficult... to have the difficult questions with each other. Also, by the way, you guys to us, it's critical for us to get the feedback from our clients.
Yeah. Okay.
But then, Koen, how did we end up here?
So, how did we end up here? And then how did you end up here?
How did I end up here? So, my background, I'm a civil engineer. I started actually working in the renewable energy sector, like 10 years, very early pioneering days, building offshore wind farms. It was fantastic business.
And that started how long? 5 years, 10 years ago?
Already longer. I'm an older man than that. So it started in 2008.
2008.
Started working in 2008. There were at that moment 6 offshore wind turbines in Belgium. I think 20 in the Netherlands and maybe 20 in Denmark at that stage.
And that was it.
That was it. There was a very, very, very early stages of the offshore.
Now there are hundreds even in Belgium alone.
Hundreds. It's a booming business. It's crazy. And so I've seen a lot of companies go bankrupt in those 10 years. So I built offshore wind farms. It was very nice. I had a big engineering team.
Yeah, must be.
Very smart guys. I was very young, so the only possible job I could actually do was actually leading the team from a people perspective. So really nice. I learned a lot. I learned a lot about real core engineering, best practices on engineering, safety stuff, quality stuff. kind of stuff.
I
And
can
then
imagine the quality standards. Of
the
a
quality standards,
windmill farm.
were very high. They were like oil and gas kind of style.
And also the risk management is crazy.
Yes,
like-
everything was oil and gas standard, which was one of the complexities in that stage.
yeah, of course.
Because they use a lot of it's just very risk driven business, which is logical. It's also these projects cost around 1 to 2 billion euros.
Yeah.
So you need
So-
to get bank funding for that. You can
Yeah.
imagine the negotiations with the banks.
Yeah.
And also the interesting thing was I was already buying technology that didn't exist. And that's a very that's quite similar to what we do today.
Yeah, exactly.
I was buying a wind turbine that was only existing on paper.
Oh my
And they
God.
said we're going to probably be able to certify it in 2 to 3 years.
Oh
And
my
we were,
God. And you were negotiating with the bank?
We were, yes. And we needed to go to the bank and say we need 1 billion euros from you guys because we are going to build offshore wind turbines
That's fucking
of a company and that doesn't exist yet, the turbine. It
Oh
never
my-
exists. They haven't tested it. Physically, you cannot look at it.
like no idea yet.
No, the only thing was they have an engineering design and all that kind of stuff. They still need to ramp up production. And all that
I
kind of
didn't
stuff.
know that. That now I see parallels. We probably have to skip some zeros, but I see many parallels
Very
actually
similar.
with today. Although
Yeah.
it's on 100 projects now, and it's
It's also some companies taking risks, going bankrupt, trying to build technologies and going bankrupt. I have seen others taking risks, actually being on the verge of going bankrupt, but succeeding and living, and then becoming huge companies.
okay.
So I know also it's a bit of luck. And,
Yeah, 100%.
there's also a bit of luck in business where you if your
Yeah.
quality goes down, then you're out.
Then
there.
you're done.
So that was my first part of my career. Then I launched a software startup in manufacturing together with 2 co-founders.
Yeah.
One of them is now running the business. We also went through all the incubators. That's why it's also so nice if I speak with startup founders. I really know how it feels.
You know how it is. Yeah.
I know how it feels is to have some money on your bank account and give it to somebody and hope they don't screw it up.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's one of the difficult feelings. If they screw it up, you're probably out of business and you can
Yes.
go back and look for another business. So that's, and then I did 3 years management consulting, really learning with big multinational companies. It was also the biggest leadership advisory firm in the world I worked with, so globally. Really interesting. And at that stage, it started the idea of what I want to do with what I actually want to do with my life started ripening. And I started speaking with them, and they said, I started actually after 3 years, we saw there's no match. Yeah, there's no
Okay,
match.
between-
My
okay.
personality was too. Somebody really explained it very well. She said to me, "It's like fitting a too big foot in a too small shoe." You can run with it like 100 meters, 200 meters, but at a certain state, it hurts so much.
That you're gonna.
Yeah, and
Okay.
you like the shoes, eh? And the
Yeah.
But you know,
The
it
color
doesn't-
is great. The brand is great, but
fantastic,
no,
but it
yeah.
will not work.
Okay.
Eh? And that's how it
That's
actually
so
felt
nice.
for the both of us. I tried to fit in that too big shoe, and they tried to fit the big foot into the shoe, and it was a difficult issue. But I started discussing with them and say, okay, I'm now I think I was 33 or 34 or something like that. I started speaking with them and say, so how does my future look like? Tell me, you guys are
What can we
leadership
do? Like,
advisors.
yeah,
It's your core
indeed.
business.
Advise me.
Yeah, I had like 10 of the best consultants in the world in front of me that can help me actually shape that path.
Super nice.
Yeah.
And
And I started actually first working again with Deme. I always wanted to work with Deme. I think it's a fantastic company, super innovative. Also
Belgian company,
Belgian
active
company.
in dredging.
dredging, wind turbine, also hydrogen. They are a pioneer in hydrogen.
Huge.
Yeah, they are actually
worldwide.
they're actually a pioneer everything that has to do with water works.
Okay.
everything
That's
on
the
the water.
underlying. Okay.
Yeah, construction on the water, everything that has to do with that. But they also stepped into hydrogen. And that's basically due to the innovative mindset of the current CEO, the previous CEO.
Yeah.
I really wanted to work with the guys. So I started working with them. It was good. But then at a certain stage, they said to me, the people from the management consulting, leadership advisory firm, Egon Zender, they said to me, you're probably more like a founder of a CEO of a small company
Yes.
where you can really be innovative. And at a certain stage, I started speaking with people and they started asking me, are you working with Deme? And do you want to do other stuff? And at a certain stage, a person said to me, I know a guy who's probably selling his
And
company.
that's always how it starts.
Yeah, that's
Somebody
always how it
says,
starts.
I know a guy or I know a woman.
Voila.
And then it's like, oh, really? And
Yeah.
then, really, when I look back at Albert's, all the funding history we have always start with somebody say, but I know a guy. Or something
Yeah,
like
yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Or have you heard about that one? Or
Yeah,
at an
and-
event like, oh, you should know that guy.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And then today he's our main investor. Like,
Yeah, voila.
that is...
And it's always, you sometimes find stuff where you're not looking at. The question I asked to this person is, I would like to have a management buy-in. Can you
Okay.
advise me what the risks are, how you would take this approach?
so you
have
asked for advice,
experience? I
actually.
just asked for advice.
Yeah.
I ask a lot, you know it, I ask for advice so much. I
Yeah,
think asking
You're very good at that. Like,
yeah, just asking for advice is so
then
helpful.
learning
Yeah.
for... Yeah.
And then he said, I'm speaking with this guy, Dieryckx, and I still remember because I met you and Phil and Koen once at a fair somewhere, the PNB Paribas fair
Really?
on
I
a
don't
Saturday.
even remember
still
it.
remember well. And I immediately said, he said to me, I know a guy who's selling a company and they're innovative. And I said, is this happens to be Voxdale? And he said, how do you know?
Yeah.
And strange, eh?
Yeah,
So and then I
I
started
think you have to explain, maybe if you want a management
buy-in.
buy-in or buyout,
Yeah, how you want to
depending.
call it.
What is it? Because I think many people could really like to understand it in a practical point of view, because you did it.
Yeah.
So what does it mean?
It's nothing more and nothing less than valuating a company. That's your first step. Do the valuation of the company, just on the practical stuff. Valuation of the company, then decide whether you want to fully take it over yourself with bank financing, or you would like to have an investor, which is definitely, if you have a network-related investor or business-related investor, or somebody just with good brains on the financing side, it always helps.
Yeah.
And then I had to decide, do I want to take the guy that I'm going to buy in this case, Dieryckx.
He's just, you say Koen Meijers and he
Just-
passes
just
by.
passing
So
by.
possible.
Fantastic. Oh, just passing by. Do I want to?
You say Koen Meijers and he walks by.
I think he was just waiting around the corner just to step in and make his entry. Do you want to keep him in your company or not?
Yeah,
Because
yeah,
it has
exactly.
risks, but it has a lot of benefits. also.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then also in what role?
Yeah. In what role? Indeed.
Because
That's also a
you have to
definition.
envision your role. In this case, clearly CEO.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That was the idea, because the reason why Koen wanted to sell, it's an important one, is he's building spin-off companies.
Yes.
Koen has a real entrepreneurial
Yeah, yeah,
mindset.
yeah,
He
yeah,
has a truckload of ideas, so he's building spin-off companies, amongst others, Novosanis, Dieryckx, SpacePal, whatever, a couple of spin-off companies that he's building. And he was CTO of two of these spin-off companies. Impossible to combine
Yes,
with
impossible.
managing a company like Voxdale.
Yeah.
Probably also hit us a little bit on the growth. At a certain stage, we started tagging along a little, like trailing a little bit with regards to growth.
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
And then Koen said, I need to do something here.
Yes.
We started having a discussion. And I needed to actually look into, because I know from my role in leadership advisory that stepping into a company that's founded by a guy that's still in the same building, a giant risk. I already knew giant risk,
Of course.
but the relationship with Koen was immediately like, okay, we understand each other.
Yes.
And we are complementary. And so
Yeah,
actually,
somehow you wanted the same. I mean, no, not same, but same direction. I mean,
voila. And also, we wanted definitely the same direction. And also, the culture Koen created in this company, you know it better than me,
yeah,
is a great culture.
Yeah,
it's
definitely.
a culture of fantastic people.
100%.
So there were a truckload of a lot of benefits of keeping Koen on board.
I think that was
Yeah.
Like-
And the first thing I did was actually kick him out of his office.
Yeah, we are now in his
in his new office, but his previous
which was a
office-
meeting room.
which was a meeting room. And the first day I kicked him out of his office. It was the best decision.
Yeah,
I
of
think
course.
he was like,
Yeah, of course.
But
But he then claims the meeting room.
he claimed the meeting room. But he can't claim the meeting room. But now I'm on our floor and they need to know who the CEO is.
Of course, and you
It's
need a
important.
connection. Like
Yeah.
the door needs to be open
Yeah,
where
voila.
where
Yeah.
trouble arises. It needs to be directly
Yes,
ups.
yeah.
Let's go.
So I basically went to Koen and said, I want to keep you in the company.
Yeah.
Without you, I'm not going to do it.
Okay,
Because for me, that's also a new type of business.
Yeah,
And I really wanted to keep him because I saw the huge amount of added value he has just with regards to looking at businesses, looking at startups, looking at new
of
technologies.
course, and then also the connections. Yeah, I
Yeah.
understand. Imagine he would be cut off, poof, straight cold.
It would be crazy.
Like you start cold almost in new business,
Voila.
new type of team
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
size, SME.
Yeah.
Right,
And for him, it still feels like I think it still feels a bit like we should ask him. It probably still feels like his
Maybe
baby.
he passes by
Yeah,
again.
yeah,
and then we
yeah.
can
It probably still feels like his baby,
Mhm.
but somebody else is babysitting on it, and he needs to, or maybe it's sometimes like his daughter has a husband, and she's now taking care of
Maybe
somebody
something
else,
like that,
or
yeah.
Maybe that's a bit sexist.
Yeah, maybe.
But yeah, it's I feel it feels probably a bit. It's still his baby, and he still sees it, and he's still growing it.
I think with his heart, I think.
Yeah. It's still his company.
Yeah, definitely. With the heart, but I think the last 1.5 years, you have full control. You have been
Yeah.
growing the business now so much. Like you're in Berlin now, in Ghent
Yes.
now, in
Eindhoven.
second one in Antwerp, in Eindhoven. Yeah, I think it's fair to say this all happened after you came.
True.
This.
Yeah,
So
I
I think
can-
you definitely have that. Yeah, you have a real growth mindset.
Yeah.
Like you're there. Yeah, I really saw after Voxdale, after you came, it just started exploding almost. Like above the new building next door is almost double the size.
Yeah.
Boom, 4 locations.
Yeah.
Of course, creating the necessary stress KPIs.
True.
Growth needs to happen,
True.
but
That's
Yeah.
also one of the stress is a good point. It's
Yeah.
I think we often see all the crazy good stories. It's shine and bright, and look how fantastic we are. I think the downside is we see not only for ourselves as an entrepreneur or as a CEO. I don't see myself fully as an entrepreneur. I see myself as a responsible of a company, which has some stress levels. I think
Yeah.
you know it also. I think it gives you some sort of a stress, also positive stress. But we see it also with the startups. We see startups that are showing off that they are doing
of
the
course.
best stuff ever. And if you know it behind the scenes, they are struggling like hell.
Exactly. And that's why I love you as a first guest, because you have this helicopter view. So firstly, you can be honest. That's
Yeah.
one thing. And secondly, you have that internal view in how the startups are doing. And just like you say, it's the theme of the podcast. It's why Seb and me want to do this, because LinkedIn is so great. Like we always say, like it's good. If there's a wedding, you wear a suit. It's normal. Like it's fine. Or you dress up or whatever. It's nice.
Yeah.
But then there's also you go to the bar with 2 friends.
Yep.
And that aspect in business life totally misses. Like it's super hard to really get to know something.
Yeah,
But if
true.
I then arrive at a fair or a party where there are other founders of startups or other CEOs of companies, then it takes only 30 seconds and people can be honest to each other like, oh man, we're having some struggles, this and that, and that's going difficult.
Yeah.
And then I think, okay, yeah, but wait.
Yeah.
Wait, that is, yeah. So I think both platforms are needed.
I think both platforms are needed. But I also think the second platform is probably underutilized because it's I think it's that level of openness is critical for people to actually be able to continue.
100%.
If you feel like you're not alone, it's a big difference.
Definitely. And also for people to not see it as a huge mountain to somehow, like, it's so impossible to do, to reach that level of greatness.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, but the steps are like,
Yeah.
they always say the curve to growth is like
Yeah.
that, but reality is...
Yeah, voila. Reality is indeed
Yeah.
like that.
And I think if we could inspire people a little bit with just being honest about that,
Yeah.
that can help for people to say, oh, it's actually doable. So I can have that huge down
Yeah,
moment
for
to
sure.
then get up again.
Yeah,
So
indeed.
many of the startups that are here as well, and I'll take us as an example. I don't need to talk about anybody else, but like, of course, yeah, we have in the trajectory that we were in these buildings from start to finish. I think we were virtually bankrupt for 3 times. We were having huge crises for like 20 times probably. And then it helps a lot, or I felt at least it helped a lot if we could just be here. Many of the nights actually when we were still upstairs, everybody was gone and Koen was still there. Or he came in or something, and then we could share the load a bit. And I think this podcast could do a little bit, or I hope it can do a little bit, that we can, that people can tell their story a bit, just like you say, like, okay, we have the growth pains, and now the different cities, and oh my God, we're going to do that. I think it's important that people know that side is also there.
Yeah.
Like,
indeed, I sometimes say to startups, please try to be as soon as possible. Don't try to say to everybody how fantastic you guys are doing. Reach out to people that already done it and say what your doubts are, what your struggles are, why you're panicking. It will only help. It will help you as a
100%.
As a founder to make the right decisions. It will help you also to understand that it's normal that you are panicking. If you would not be panicking, I think you're a little bit too cocky one way or another.
Or ignorant, like
Yeah, or
no,
ignorant
this
could
won't
also be
happen to
just
us.
ignorant.
4 months later.
No, I'm not cocky, but just ignorant. Okay. So I think that's one of the things where we always say to startup founders, reach out and you say, I have it under control. No, you cannot be sure about your business model. If you're now in the early stage already sure about your business model,
Then why is it not gigantic? Right?
completely ridiculous.
Yeah, 100%.
Have it challenged, and that's not nice. You know it also. Going into a pitch and then saying, "What kind of stupid idea are you guys thinking about?" You probably saw it a truckload of times.
Exactly.
And you need to be,
I would say like we had I can't remember how many investor meetings we had. I think 300 maybe or 200.
yeah. Certainly, if you have a
we
family.
definitely don't have 200 investors, huh? So it must have been many times.
True. And also home, at home, it's you're having children and you're having your family, and it's also there. You have to explain
How are things going?
how are things going.
And then you want to share the good ones, but then the bad ones, like, yeah, I'm just gonna say it. Like yesterday, we had an email. I was sitting at home, had a busy day, 9 o'clock, I think, and receive an email of an investor who says, "Oh, actually, we're not gonna move forward yet. We're gonna wait for it." So yeah, then you're there at your table or in your sofa. In this case, I was just home for like 30 minutes. I'm just spilling the table.
That happens in real
Yes,
life.
happens.
Spilling happens.
I'm still digesting yesterday.
Yeah, I can imagine.
But then, yeah, that's that moment when you're then, in my case, with my girlfriend in the sofa, the kid just went to bed. And then you're like, yeah, shit. But then even there, the best thing is, or at least that's how I feel, is to share it, And then also 10 minutes later, it's gone. Because you realize, okay, good, that happened. Fine.
True.
Let's just go to the next day, But if you then keep it there.
But it's not easy,
It's not easy. Yeah, I was dining for 30 minutes, digesting it myself,
I can fully imagine. It's sometimes a stress level that falls on you, and then you have to digest it one way or another.
Yeah.
I think non-founders are also having that kind of stuff in their normal lives.
Of course.
Bad news from a colleague that's leaving, or they're getting
Definitely.
fired, or whatever.
Or your employer who's not happy, or a client who's annoying.
Everybody
or
has that kind of
somehow-
stuff.
Yes.
But the issue, I think, is with what we see often with startups is that it's always the good shine, and we're fantastic, and look how good we are, and we go and conquer the world, and blah, 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 and blah, blah here. And whilst the reality is actually, we actually don't know where we're going. And we're trying to do something, and we hope we end up somewhere.
Exactly.
And if we go bankrupt, we hope people will not laugh at us. That's sometimes also the ego is also a big part.
Ego, huge.
Yeah,
Huge. I think ego is a huge part of it.
Ego is a huge part of it.
Huge part of it. And then fear of somehow saying something stupid, saying something bad. I mean, also for us, like when Sepp and me have been preparing the podcast, yeah, sure, it also crosses my mind. Like, what am I gonna, because I know myself, once I start talking, I go all in. And sure, it also crosses my mind, like, okay, but what am I gonna shout out in all the weeks ahead, 2-3 years? That means 150 episodes coming up. Oh my God, what's gonna go out? But I think times have changed there also. And now, frankly, I don't know. I think it's almost a duty, I think, to really just dare to share. And of course, not everything now, of course not. But yeah, quite a lot.
Yeah, I think so too. I think if you would speak with successful, non-successful, but I think successful startups, you will see that, or even just companies or executives or whatever, I think you will see always that they go for advice. They ask advice, they ask for advice. Maybe they do it selectively in a club of 4 or 5 people.
Yes.
So the person that actually helped me make the link with Voxdale is a person I'm still speaking with on very regular basis.
That's so nice.
And I'm just asking him, help me.
So
I have this idea. What do you think? Is it a stupid idea? Is it a good idea?
That's so nice.
And
That's
he just helps me in thinking about how do I take these kind of steps.
Yes.
And it's so helpful. I think everybody, you will see it. And sometimes they're not open about it, but they have done it.
Yes.
I'm quite sure about that.
And you need people like that on longer term, and it can only happen to them if you can really like you say, yeah, you're so good at that. I struggle still with saying I need help. I suck. I'm not good. I still struggle with that. I can say that easier to friends. Like, actually, we're doing that crap or that crap.
True.
But I still find it hard to say to people, can you help me?
Yeah.
And you're great at that. Because I see you doing it very often.
Yeah.
And that, I think, that's the key. Because then you create directly a very close relationship. Because
Yep.
that person is like, oh my God, he dares to say that. Nice.
Yeah.
Let's try to help. Let's try to think. And then
Yeah,
something
that's
else
true.
pops out or something, whatever happens
Yeah,
2
yeah.
years later. But that is...
I also noticed that if you ask help to people and you really ask help, you really have a question and you really listen to them and follow up on it. Not follow up per se and saying, bye, I have done that.
No,
or
no, no.
they just do it also. Just
Yeah.
actually do stuff. It really creates a bond. And I think not only from them to you, but also for you to them. Because you think, I think these guys can really help me.
Yes,
And
yes.
sometimes
Yeah.
everybody can basically help you. I'm quite sure about that.
Yeah. Okay,
yeah.
Tim. I'm thinking about the water I just wasted here. How are we with time, Seb? Are we still good?
2 o'clock, so...
Okay, yeah. I think we go around off. I still have one question. How is it to have a newborn kid? When you already have kids which are 12 and 1. So now we have our first daughter and we have a son coming up. And I see you balancing, like you're always smiling, you're always in a good mood, you're always social, you're running around, and then all of a sudden he tells me, we're just actually getting a new kid and the other one is 12. I'm like, what is going on? You know?
Yeah.
What's the secret, Tim?
There's no secret. It's so this is a bit personal. We have been split up for a couple of for a time, and we also had a, how do you call it,
Like
a child that was actually didn't live for more than 3 months in the belly. I don't know
okay.
how you call it in
Yeah,
English.
I don't know either.
So from that, basically, we started discussing. The third child is something we still want or not.
Oh my God,
Our
I get
minds-
goosebumps. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
that
So
aspect,
it was actually after, so we had the miscarriage. It's a
Miscarriage,
We had
yes.
a miscarriage, and then we split up for a period, and then we came back again, and we saw, okay, the relationship is much more stable in that perspective. And then we started a discussion, what are we going to do here? And our mind said, no.
no. Okay.
Our
okay.
mind said no. Our
Yeah, the
brain
ratio.
said,
Yeah.
no way. We had 2 children. They can have their own clothes. They take care of themselves. They can eat independently. They went to school just by foot. We didn't have to go. So we had our life back.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
That's of course not the way you have to see it, but
But
as a parent, you know what I mean.
yeah, of course.
You have your freedom more or less a little bit back. But our heart said yes. We need to have need to have a third child. Our heart said that, and we made the decision to do that.
This is
We
crazy.
sometimes say to each other, "What did we do?"
Of course,
Why
you
in
say
God's
that
name
sometimes. Of
Did
course.
we go for that third child? But she's amazing. She's really fantastic. I think also the interaction where you see with your children, and
How old is
she's now 6 months,
It's okay.
a little bit over 6 months. I think she's 7 months now.
Oh my
something
God.
Like that.
I try to imagine how it is with a 12-year-old and then the...
Yeah, it's very good. So that
yeah.
combination is very good. I think she, of course, she has some crappy nights over the last 3 weeks.
Oh, of
so
course.
that's much less
Yeah.
evident. What I like, I think I've been now. I think I'm doing now my job for around 14 years. Yeah, I'm working for 14 years.
I don't know.
And the evolution I have seen from the beginning, where it was basically
In the business world, you mean?
in the business world,
yeah,
where I
okay.
saw it was basically not done as a male parent, maybe even as a female parent, but I cannot speak about that
Yeah.
because I don't know it. As a male parent, to actually say, I want to take care of my children. No, I'm home. No, it's weekend. I'm taking care of my children.
It
You
was
cannot
not
reach
done.
It was not done.
Yeah,
It
okay.
was a little bit not done. It was like, yeah, but peace. Job goes first.
Yes.
And, you don't have to be home at 7 or 6 o'clock or 6:30
Yes.
to eat with your children. You're a man, you go to work, and it's completely different now. I speak with
yeah.
entrepreneurs that actually say, no, this evening I'm not going to go to that fair because I don't want to. I need to be with my children at 6:30. I want to have dinner with them together.
Yes.
You can reach me again at 8:30. That's not a problem. I will do some work afterwards.
People do that now more, yeah.
People do it much more, and
I
I
see
think
it as
it's a
well.
very healthy situation.
Yes.
Which I'm also, but you know it also. It's not easy,
No.
because there's the fear of missing out
Of
versus I'm a parent, and that's basically the most
Of
important
course,
thing in
of
my life.
course. And I'm missing the time and...
And also friends, it's also something. So there's a balance to strike.
Yeah.
But it's a balance we don't have under control for the moment. Yeah, let me be clear on that.
I love that. I love
We do not have it under control. I think we're struggling. My wife has also a busy job. As she has also an emotionally very busy job.
Okay,
so she comes home from very emotional issues sometimes.
Mm.
And then you have to start going into that rush. So we do not have it under control.
I love that.
We're enjoying our children, but we do not have the under control. For
I
the
love
moment.
it.
It is what it is.
I love it.
I think the only thing is you can try to solve it.
Yeah, definitely.
We're trying to do that now.
I love the sentence. We don't have it under control.
No. No. And I have to say, I'm a little bit lazy in that perspective. My wife is struggling for the moment more than I am.
Okay.
Which is maybe still a little bit the patterns that used to be there,
Yeah.
or maybe our personalities. I don't know.
Yeah.
It is what it is.
Yeah.
We need to work on it
I love
to
it.
have it back under control.
I love it. We don't have it under control. I
No,
think it's
no,
a
no,
perfect ending. I'm not sure if you have this podcast under control, but I definitely liked it.
I think one of the key aspects is not having stuff under control, and just letting it go and see where the flow goes, and just trusting on your own mind and trusting. And I think this.
Definitely, and just
I'm so looking forward to all the kind of episodes. I already have like 15 guests in my mind, which would be fantastic in here, which will be looking at the podcast and just hear their stories.
Please share.
Yeah.
Okay, Tim, I really love this. I was a bit like we literally came here, and in 5 minutes we started. I feel like I'm totally zoomed out now.
Me too.
And what is the time?
Really enjoyed it.
All right, in 23 meetings, the next meeting. And we didn't eat yet.
Yes.
Tim, thank you. I really love
Thank you
this.
very much, Glenn.
And Sebastian, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Sebastian.
It's a wrap. Woohoo!
Yes.